28%. That's how much of your glute a standard squat actually activates, according to muscle testing on adults over 60. Not 70, not 50. 28. The other 72% of that muscle has been sitting there the entire time you've been squatting, doing almost nothing. That gap explains a lot. The knee ache going downstairs, the hip that feels unstable stepping off a curb, the lower back that tightens every time you bend over. None of that is your quads failing you. It's the muscle meant to absorb that load never getting asked to work in the first place. Squats were never wrong to do. They just were never enough on their own, and nobody explained why. 5 specific moves change that each one measured to work 3 times harder than a squat for this exact muscle. No squat rack, no weights, and none of them require getting down onto the floor. The last one produced some of the highest activation ever recorded for it in adults your age. And once you get there, you'll understand exactly why it closes the list instead of opening it. Tell me in the comments when you squat or stand up quickly. Where do you feel the effort? Your thighs, your lower back, or your glutes? If this is your first time here, subscribe. We cover routines exactly like this every week. A quick like helps this reach someone who's been squatting for years without the results to show for it. Let's start with the first move. Exercise number 5, the bodyweight monster walk. Stand with your feet shoulder width apart and lower yourself slightly into a shallow, comfortable half squat. Knees soft, chest lifted, hands resting lightly on your hips or held out in front of you for balance. From here, step your right foot forward, pressing your knee outward as you plant it, so your feet stay just as wide apart as when you started. Then, step your left foot forward the same way, knee pressing outward, landing with that same shoulder width gap between your feet still in place. Continue stepping forward this way, right foot, then left foot, always pressing your knees outward with each step so your feet never drift closer together. Take 4 or 5 steps forward, then reverse, stepping backward the same way. Right foot back, then left foot back, still pressing your knees outward the entire time. A common mistake here is letting your knees drift inward with each step, so keep actively pressing them outward the entire time, and keep your steps small rather than long, since long strides make it harder to maintain that outward pressure. If a chair or counter is nearby, feel free to rest a hand on it for extra stability while you get used to the movement. Keep your breathing steady throughout rather than holding it as you step, and move slowly enough that you could pause mid-step at any point without losing your balance. Keeping your feet from drifting together with every step forces your outer hip muscles to work continuously to control your pelvis in a way that ordinary walking simply doesn't ask of them. Exercise number 4, the standing glute med isometric at wall. Stand sideways next to a wall with your right side facing it about a hand's width away. Bend your right knee slightly and press the outside edge of your right foot firmly into the wall, roughly at ankle height. Push into the wall as hard as feels comfortable without your body actually moving. This is a static isometric push rather than a lift. Hold that press for 5 to 6 seconds, breathing normally throughout, then release completely. Perform 8 to 10 repetitions, then turn around and repeat with your left foot against the wall. A common mistake is pushing with your whole leg swinging rather than a controlled steady press. So keep the effort smooth and constant throughout each hold rather than jerking into it, because nothing about your body position actually changes during this exercise. All of the effort goes directly into the muscle rather than being shared with momentum, which is exactly what makes a still quiet push like this surprisingly effective. Exercise number 3, the standing hip extension with power intent. Stand facing a sturdy countertop or the back of a chair, holding on firmly with both hands. Shift your weight onto your left leg, keeping a soft bend in that knee. Keep your right leg nearly straight and lift it straight back behind you, just a small distance, nothing dramatic. The key detail here is how you begin the movement. Start it with a brisk, purposeful push rather than a slow drift, then bring your leg back to the starting position slowly and with full control. Perform 8 to 10 repetitions with your right leg. Then switch, planting your right foot and repeating the same brisk out, slow return pattern with your left leg. Breathe out gently as you begin each brisk push and breathe in as you return the leg slowly to the starting position. If you feel this in your lower back rather than your glute, you're likely swinging too far. Pull the range of motion in smaller and keep your torso upright throughout rather than leaning forward to help the leg move higher. This exercise trains something different from simple strength. It trains how quickly your muscle can generate force. That quickness, not just raw strength, is often what determines whether you catch yourself in time when your foot slips or your balance shifts unexpectedly. Strength tells you how much force a muscle can produce. Speed of activation tells you how fast it can produce that force when there's no time to think about it, and that second quality matters just as much for staying upright. Exercise number 2, the standing fire hydrant. Stand behind a sturdy chair or counter, resting one hand on it for balance. Shift your weight onto your left leg. Bend your right knee to about 90 degrees, lifting your right foot off the floor as though you were about to march in place. From there, keeping that same bend in your knee, swing your right knee outward to the side away from your body, then bring it back to center, without letting your right foot touch the ground between repetitions. Perform 10 to 12 repetitions. Then switch, planting your right foot and repeating the same movement with your left knee. A common mistake is leaning your torso to the opposite side to help the knee swing further out. So keep your torso upright and let the movement come entirely from the hip. This movement isolates the same outer hip muscle through rotation rather than a straight lift, which is a movement pattern your body relies on every time you step around an object or turn to reach for something beside you. And now exercise number 1, the prone hip extension. Lie face down on a mat or carpeted floor, resting your forehead on your stacked hands or turning your head gently to one side, whichever feels more comfortable on your neck. Bend your right knee to roughly a right angle heel pointing toward the ceiling. Keeping that bend in your knee, lift your right thigh up off the floor, just a few inches, letting your knee drift slightly out to the side as it rises roughly a third of the way toward pointing outward rather than straight up. Hold for 2 seconds at the top, then lower back down slowly with control. Perform 10 to 12 repetitions with your right leg, then repeat the same movement with your left leg. Keep your breathing relaxed and even throughout, and rest your left leg flat and relaxed on the floor while your right leg works. Then switch roles completely when you move to the other side. A common mistake is arching the lower back to lift the leg higher. So keep your hips pressed into the floor throughout and lift only as high as you can while keeping your pelvis still and level. Research measuring this exact hip angle found it produced the highest activation levels of any prone hip position tested. Small adjustments in angle change everything. With this muscle and this particular position was found to unlock more of its full capacity than any straightforward version of the same movement. Together, these 5 movements worked this muscle from 5 completely different angles. Continuous stepping, a still isometric hold against the wall, quick force generation, rotational control while standing, and finally precise isolated extension on the floor. None of this requires rushing, and none of it requires pushing through pain. If any movement causes something sharper than simple muscle fatigue, ease off it or stop for now, and check with your doctor first if you're managing any existing joint or balance condition. A standard squat only asked a fraction of this muscle's real capacity. These 5 done consistently a few times each week. Ask for the rest of it. If this helps, share it with someone who's been squatting for years without the results to match. And if you haven't already, subscribe. We'll be back next week with another routine built for exactly this stage of life.